And welcome everybody to another edition of the Cripple Connection podcast. I'm your host, Cody Lashley. You can follow me on Twitter at CODYLAC. I'm joined as always by my partner in crime, Jeffrey Redmond. What's going on, brother?
Not much, Cody. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's another one of those days where we're kind of struggling to find things to talk about. But I actually think that we managed to scrape together a pretty good little topic discussion for today. Does Microsoft have enough exclusive titles going into this next console war? We're going to be talking a little bit about that. We're going to also be talking about Sony investing $250 million in Epic and what that means for the future console war. We actually have some pretty good stuff to talk about. But if you're listening to this podcast and you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, make sure you hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to make sure you see whenever we go live. So Jeffrey, let's kind of jump into this, man, because one of the things that an article was posted to Forbes, basically saying that Xbox needs its own version of Horizon Zero Dawn, basically an Epic exclusive title that's going to sell product, that's going to sell people on the Xbox. So it prompted us to look up some exclusives and see what Microsoft is working with. And I think we were both kind of surprised how barren it actually is.
Yeah, I certainly was. According to the article that we found, there are only two Xbox Series X exclusives, that being Scorn and Jesus, what was the other one? Scorn and
So I have a list right here.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and bring that up.
I had it a second ago.
No, you're fine. So we've been going through this list, and we've pretty much been trying to determine, kind of, are any of these titles console movers? And are any of them going to be exclusive to Microsoft? And I felt that it would be interesting to get both of our opinions on, is Microsoft going into this a little bit barren with the amount of games that they have? Do they have a console mover?
Right.
And I think that would be an interesting topic. The ones that we have found were Scorn and obviously Halo Infinite. But if you look at
there's Scorn and Halo Infinite. But if you go up on that list, actually, go further up, up. There, keep going. There was a way for me to search. Okay, go down a little bit. There's a little bar right there. Right there, it says.
Oh yeah.
Every Xbox. Okay, click that, and then there was a way for me to. I guess there's not anymore. But there was a way for me to select Xbox Series X exclusives, and when I clicked that, only two of them showed up, which is Scorn, and there's a survival horror game that's closer down there. But Halo's actually not going to be console exclusive. It's going to be released for PC, which brings me up to my ultimate point, and something that I think Xbox has been struggling with for a while. Microsoft is competing with itself because it has both the PC market and the Xbox console market, and they really don't want to alienate, either side, because they're both part of the same company, and I think that's where their problem lies. So basically, if you want to play games, exclusive Microsoft games, you're better off being a PC gamer, because there's nothing really that a console is going to offer you
it's
that
definitely
a computer
more
already
powerful.
can't.
And I do, it does make me wonder. It's like, what's the benefit of just buying your own PC and just souping it up and having a crazy PC instead of buying the Xbox, And another thing is it on the Xbox, you want a title mover. And so we're looking at a list right now of all the confirmed games that are going to be launching on Xbox Series X at launch, and most of these that we look through are going to also be coming out on the PlayStation. Destiny 2 is another one that's huge, but it's not just going to be on the Xbox. Dirt 5, obviously you have the FIFAs and the Maddens of the world. Then you get to Halo Infinite, and my question is Halo even going to be able to do for Microsoft what it's done in the past? Like, I guess what I want to know is how much weight does Halo still carry, if any?
Well,
I mean, is that a console mover in and of itself? Because, I mean, maybe I'm being too hard here, but I don't think it is at this point. I mean,
Halo is not what it used to be. I can confirm that. I remember back when Halo 1, 2, and even 3. Those were big things. Those were a reason to get the Xbox. Sure, they were first-person shooters, but they were also, especially early on, the first of their kind. Halo, I believe it was Halo 2 that really popularized, multiplayer shooters in general. What we know as multiplayer shooters today owe almost their entire foundation to Halo. Well, that sentiment and that understanding of gaming not only has skyrocketed, but it's far exceeded what Halo started. So unless they do something absolutely fantastic that's going to change that genre forever, I don't see that happening. And like I said, Halo Infinite's coming to PC, so that's not even an Xbox. It's not a specific console thing.
So they say that when you buy it, it's going to be like on a smart buy feature. So as soon as you buy it, you're going to be able to play it on. It says actually, according to Microsoft, Halo Infinite will use the smart delivery feature. That means you only have to purchase the game once, and you'll have access to the best available version of whichever Xbox console you choose to play on. So, again, and also knowing how, most people believe it's easier to play shooters on a PC anyway. Right. Like, I don't know. I toe that fine line where it's like, I don't try and come down too hard on Xbox because I've never been the biggest Xbox fanboy, but I've also been the type of person to buy an Xbox just to play exclusives that they've had. And I feel like early on, specifically in the Xbox 360 era, not only did it come out before the PlayStation 3, but it also had titles. It had Dead or Alive 5, I think. It obviously had Halo. It had Oblivion. Like, there were so many reasons for you to buy that console. And I feel like after everything that we have been seeing from Sony, that there isn't a real mover and shaker, and it's like, I don't know, am I just being biased, or is there something?
No, you're not,
to
because
this?
because according to this article, the only Xbox Series X exclusive that does not have a Steam page at this point is called The Medium, which is a psychological horror game. We don't really know anything beyond that, other than the soundtrack is being done by Akira Yamaoka, who was the same guy that did the original Silent Hill games. I love his soundtracks. I can never remember his damn name for the life of me. Every time I look at it, every time I think about him, I have to look it up. But
by the way, real quick, shout out to Joe Riolano in our chat room. He said, "What's good, guys? I'm a PS5 guy. Can't wait for it." Yeah, I think we both are, and that's why we're kind of trying to temper our conversations here, because you don't want to seem too overtly biased in one way or another. But I would have... go ahead.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Like, even though I am a PlayStation person, I don't like to see a company dip out because they don't have the necessary, the necessary merchandise to back it up. And that's kind of my issue, is that if this happens and Microsoft ends up dipping out of the console races. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen anytime soon, but if they do, PlayStation and Nintendo are going to be the only two remaining titans left. And with the PlayStation, then they can start, having a dominance on the market. And even though I like PS5, I don't want to see Sony have a stranglehold on the market. I don't want to see anybody have a stranglehold on the market, because basically then they can just do whatever the hell they want. And I don't want that either. So, and I'm not saying Sony would do that or anything, but like, if you have one Titan basically kind of, really like having a hold on everything, then they can start raising prices. They can start doing all these different things.
Yeah, it's definitely not good for the video game economy.
No. And like
goes
I said,
without saying.
Yeah, and like I said, the PC will still be around. But see, here's the thing. Not everybody can afford a PC. Sure, you can go to Walmart and, get a $700 maybe, toned down thing that may be able to run some current stuff.
Yeah.
But like, if you don't invest in the long term with a PC, if you don't spend, at least I'd say $1,500 on a PC, it's and that's a huge investment for people. So, whereas consoles only, they're like $500.
And again, you're pretty much weighing the difference. I mean,
exactly.
It's like, why, if I have a souped up PC like I do and a PlayStation, well, then why do I even need an Xbox?
Right.
Like, what exactly do I need it for? But now I get it. Now maybe not everything, and it can't be that every single game that you buy is going to be between your PC and your Xbox, is it?
Right.
Like, it just seems that's taking down so much of your own business.
Exactly, and that's the other thing I wanted to point out about what you said earlier. Notice that what you read just said between the current Xbox and this one coming up. It didn't even mention that cross compatibility thing would be for PC. It's just between the two consoles. So we don't even know, we don't even know if it's going to be cross-play for everything, or if this is just going to be between the consoles. And if that's the case, I refuse to pay for a game twice. You know what I mean? Like, that's
absolutely
stupid. Like, why would you do that? But then again, you can pick and choose and decide, hey, I want this on PC.
So I just scrolled up and down this whole list, and it lists up and down, or on the side of the title, which ones are Xbox Series X exclusives. And I swear to God, there's only one.
Yeah,
there's only one, and it's Scorned. Yeah. Well, Scorned and Medium. And there's like an asterisk with Scorned, because Scorned also has a Steam page. They even mention it. It's said to be an Xbox Series X exclusive, although it appears to have a Steam page, so we imagine it will be a timed exclusivity window.
Yeah,
and then you throw in Medium, and it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're Microsoft, dude, one of the biggest, most powerful companies in the world, you don't understand. I mean, like, what, like, how do you not know? Like, what went wrong at Microsoft for them to not try and do better by their community and have better exclusives at launch? Like, this is, so especially at this point in time in video game history, it's so pivotal that you capitalize on these moments at the start of a new console cycle, because that can kind of. And I apologize for rambling, but I kind of feel like at the start of a console cycle is kind of when you make and break all your momentum. Like, if you come out of the gate lackluster, like, look at what the Wii U did.
Exactly.
The Wii U.
It tanked the entire fucking console.
Yeah, exactly. It really did. It wasn't well thought out.
No.
And that's a whole kind of another issue, because it's Nintendo. And those consoles are kind of their own thing. But,
exactly.
Man, it's so important now when you have streaming platforms like Google and Amazon trying to get people to stream games instead of buying them online. Like, man, it seems that you would want to put your best foot forward and really have something to get people to come in. And there just isn't that. Now, maybe there's something in the works. But I don't know. Then we go down to the bottom and look at some rumored titles, and none of those also seem to be exclusives, and we don't necessarily know a whole lot about them. So, and then there's games that you know are going to be cross-platform. Elder Scrolls,
Right.
Grand Theft Auto, maybe they're going to get Final Fantasy, you know that. So, I don't know, Jeffrey, it's just kind of perplexing to me.
Okay, big question. Where are your exclusives? Because there are exclusive Xbox games that have not appeared originally anyway.
Right.
That's the other thing too. Is like all the Xbox games that were exclusives, not even just counting this generation, counting past ones, were exclusive. Eventually came to PC. Because I started to say Fable. Well, Fable's on PC.
Yeah.
Where's Fable? Jesus Christ, get Peter Molyneux on this shit.
Yeah, we haven't had Fable forever.
Figure something out. You've got. I mean,
that's a great point. Like, there are other games that Microsoft has had that have been exclusive that they're not even pulling out now.
No. Where is God? What was that? Where's I mean, why don't you get BioWare on another project? Because I remember, there was that Star Wars RPG on the original Xbox, the Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, granted, I know they're now doing an MMO, and that's still going strong. But why can't you get a lot of these? They don't even have to be in-house games. Just get these third-party developers and buy them and say, hey, make games for our platform. You don't even have. It doesn't even have to be like a first-party big deal.
Yeah.
Just scoop up a bunch of minor parties and do it that way.
And see,
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that, though, because I kind of think that that's what they are doing. Like that list that we just looked at. That's a considerable list. I mean, that's a girthy list, I mean, that's a lot of games, but my thing is that none of them is a reason for me to buy an Xbox.
Right.
Because if I'm a Sony fan, and if I'm willing to look into purchase an Xbox, then say you're someone that actually doesn't own either console. If you look into those games, and then you find out, well, I'm going to be able to play all those games on PlayStation, and all the kick-ass games that are going to be only on PlayStation.
Exactly.
You don't have an incentive to pick up the Xbox. Like right now, you're saying Halo Infinite, you're saying Scorned, which is kind of an exclusive, and Medium, and the little that we have seen of those three games is actually abysmal. No one has seen anything more of Halo Infinite. No, we haven't seen a lot of Medium, and Scorn, as of right now, is just a creepy ass trailer that got everyone excited for it. It looks incredible, but it doesn't mean anything right now. We haven't seen how it plays, what it's like, what kind of game is it. There's just a lot of unknown, and we're in July right now, and even though it still kind of seems far off, dude, November is going to be here in no time.
Yeah,
no time. Like, what moves do they reasonably expect to make between now and November to be able to fix this? Are there any moves?
And then that's the other thing is we only have to look at this current generation to kind of get a look at what this what are they doing with their current Xbox right now? Like, Ghost of Tsushima is about to come out in a week for the PS4 on next Friday. What is Xbox doing? Do they have anything down the pipeline as a big bang to end this console?
How about this whole fucking year, bro? How about we've spent over 2 months discussing all the ins and outs and the controversies of Last of Us 2, PlayStation exclusive. It's like even the news that's generating lingo right now isn't in any way connected to Microsoft.
Right.
So it's man, in my mind, they're really taking an L on this. Like I don't know
Right.
who's in charge anymore of Microsoft and who's making decisions. Hell, I really don't know who it is for Sony, to be honest. It might
I
still
don't
be
either,
it
but
might
at
still
least
be
they know what the
Shuhei
hell they're doing.
Yoshida. Yeah, but I mean there's reason to be excited and hopeful about what Sony is bringing to the table. And yeah, you
Right.
hit the nail on the head. Like no one's talking about Xbox games right now. Like
No.
for what?
Yeah, I don't. I just they don't have anything. They. I feel like there's so many avenues they could take though. Like even just I don't even. Oh God, it's just
Yeah, it's kind
I
of it's perplexing that I mean I don't know. You can frame this from the fanboy perspective of
right.
Sony versus Microsoft,
Hmm.
and of course that's what it is. But I mean, just from a business perspective, I don't know how you look at
Yeah, it
what
doesn't make any
Microsoft
sense.
is doing right now, and you can
Right.
defend it. And honestly, I feel bad for Microsoft fans, like for the
Me
guys that
too.
do cap really hard for Microsoft,
Yeah.
like they're really not being given a whole lot. And then when they
No.
do a press conference that's supposed to have live gameplay, there isn't hardly any at all. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude,
That's the thing. Like even the Xbox fans were bombing the hell, we bombed the press
yes,
conference because we screened
rightfully
it. But
so.
but even the hardcore fans were totally just saying, what a piece of shit it was, and it was. And
Yep.
if that's a tale of things to come, then man, I'm telling you, they need to get out of the console market right now and just focus on PC
Yeah.
if that is their game plan, because they don't have shit right now. I hate to say it, but they don't. There's there's no beating around the bush with that. So
They
we'll
really
see.
don't. And that kind of leads us to our next portion of discussion here, which I found relevant for a few different reasons. But not only is Microsoft essentially dropping the ball right now in a lot of different aspects and not having a lot of exclusive content for Microsoft One, but dude, Sony invests $250 million in Epic Games. And in my mind, this is huge news, man. Because a lot of people, I mean, it's even in the title, Sony invests $250 million in Fortnite maker Epic Games. So Fortnite looms large over this because of how incredibly successful that game has been.
Right.
But if you look at the Unreal Engine that we reacted to, and you think about even, I mean, how many more games are now being created with Unreal Engine? With
Right.
Unreal, I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake was made in Unreal Engine.
Yep.
Like, it's essentially become the gold standard of engines that
Yep.
people can just kind of use and easily figure out, and they're known and trusted when it comes to leasing out their technology for people to be able to use it and use it relatively easy. I mean, I
Well,
remember back when I was in college, I used the Unreal Engine, the version that they had available for students at the time.
yeah, the toolkit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
easy to use. A bunch of people loved using it, and I can only imagine that now. I mean, when you look at just the sheer amount of money that Epic
Yeah.
Games has made, like all that amount of money is just gonna go right back into continue to make sure that Unreal Engine is gonna be the gold standard. And now, if
Most
those people
definitely.
are more aligned with Sony, I mean, this just seems like another huge blow for Microsoft, in my opinion. Jeffrey would say
Well,
you.
definitely. But I do want to point out
Yes.
that the article says, that just because they invested this amount of money doesn't mean it's going to be exclusive to Sony. So
Right.
I mean, so they're
Yeah.
going to
Yes.
continue to do. they're going to continue to do the whole Fortnite thing, or any other company that wants to, use their engine is more than capable of using it. So it's not like it's going to be a Sony exclusive thing because they, put in all that money. However, I will say this: would you more likely support Sony if you were Epic Games? You would more likely back one of their projects first, would you not? Because you got
absolutely.
a sizable thing from them.
Well, for all
So
of the
it's
reasons that we just mentioned in talking about
and that too.
Xbox.
Yeah.
And
Um,
it also it goes on to say in the article, Epic has said that its Unreal Engine 5 and Fortnite will work with all game platforms, as Epic
Yep.
has generally been neutral when it comes to making cross-platform technology. If Sony gets any advantage from investing in Epic, it isn't clear from this deal.
Right.
And it is kind of weird. Like, what does Sony get from this? Because I mean, $250 million. That is a minority stake in the company. Like they are
Right.
essentially part owners in Epic. Now, granted, who knows what percentage $250 million is of Epic Games? I mean, that might not even
Right.
be. That might
Yeah,
not
that
even
might
be,
not even be a fraction.
that
I
might
don't
not
even
even
know.
be 20%. So
Right.
and in fact, I'm positive that it's probably less. So, and they've talked about all the other raising that they've done. I mean, their games, dude. Check this shit. Epic Games has raised $1.58 billion in 3 previous funding rounds.
Yep.
In 2012, the company received a $330 million. Okay, so this is 2012 numbers. In 2012, Epic received $330 million investment from Tencent, and that was for a 40% ownership stake. So,
Right.
man, I mean, it really does kind of beg the question, and the article doesn't mention. It's like, oh, okay, actually, let me do my due diligence. There is an update. Sony is wow. So $250 million buys Sony 1.4 stake in Epic, which means the deal values Epic Games at $17.86 billion, dude. Holy
Wow.
shit.
Yeah. So I mean, well, that just tells you. But I think it goes back to what you were saying. The Unreal Engine is like the golden standard for for gaming engines in general. So I think ultimately, these investments and things, I think they're just well, obviously it's a business decision, but I think a lot of it actually just comes down to wanting to secure the funds for Epic so that they can make that engine even more, successful and accessible to them and to the rest of the gaming industry, because
Right.
like it is the easiest thing to work with, and I imagine the majority of games are probably going to run on that engine. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what's going on there, but
I mean, it's one of those things where, I think you also have to realize how big Sony is. So, for
definitely.
example, they have a music branch, movies.
Yep.
I mean, essentially, you're talking about, in my mind. So, I guess
Yep.
this is kind of what it means to me, right? So, what it means to me is that in the future, when it's time for Epic to make, another game that isn't Fortnite, that Sony is probably going to get first dibs at whatever that game is. It'll probably
Exactly.
be exclusive. Be prepared to hear
Exactly.
the headline that that Epic Games is making content specifically for Sony PlayStation 5. Another
Yep.
thing is, what I just mentioned when it comes to music and movies. I mean, right now you can play as Captain America in
Fortnite,
in Fortnite, and they've done multiple crossovers with Disney, which
Yep.
but in my mind, this is just another business opportunity to be able to add to Fortnite and add to Epic Games in general, and having a partnership like Sony, because Sony definitely does seem the best equipped moving forward to be able to deliver a blockbuster title. I mean, so think of it this way, Jeffrey. The Last of Us 2 was the highest selling game of all time, or the highest selling like opening weekend or whatever of all time, and it's a PlayStation exclusive. So what also does that say when you're a game company and you don't even need Microsoft's sales to hit those kinds of numbers?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and maybe that goes back to what you were saying. Maybe they have even more financial reports than we do. Epic does.
Right.
And they're like, you know what? We're gonna side with the people we know are gonna win. And I hate to throw out that prediction like right now, right here, but like we were saying earlier, Microsoft has nothing, man. And maybe Epic realizes that and says, hey, you know, we're doing what we got to do. So
yeah, I mean, everyone makes decisions for their own survival, their own business. I don't know, man. I mean, listen, I'm hoping for some good news when it comes to Xbox.
Yeah, I am too.
And
I really
Microsoft, and I am hoping that at some point in time we do get some more news and some more exclusive content for Xbox, because it's like you said, a competitive market is good for video games. And if you're going to have Sony being the only other big heavyweight in that industry, I don't know, man. It's a weird time. It really is, because I could also easily see Microsoft just folding all of their Xbox content and stuff into Windows PC in the next
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's the exact problem. They could dump their entire console base entirely and just focus on PC games, because you're fighting yourself at this point. Like, why would you do that? How does that make any financial sense? You know, back one thing and stick with it. Don't split your audience. You know, that it's just stupid. It's really stupid. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't really understand it myself. The last little news story, which kind of again ties into the one previous, Homeboy Ninja decided to stream on YouTube, and man, let me tell you, those YouTube numbers hit different. He went from like under 10,000 viewers watching him on Mixer. He goes on YouTube and streams for a little over an hour and averaged 100,000 viewers the entire time. Apparently, he peaked at around 160-something thousand viewers. So, I mean, to you, Jeffrey, do you have any takes on, not necessarily just Ninja, but like, does this mean anything for the streaming industry? And you know, as is YouTube becoming a much more realistic and usable ally, or not an ally, but a rival to Twitch? Is YouTube a legitimate threat?
And see, I've always considered them a legitimate threat, but everybody's been sleeping on YouTube for quite a while now. But the first place I go for any kind of content, live or otherwise, is YouTube. There are a few people on Twitch that are exclusive to Twitch that I will follow. But the thing about it is, the majority of people who stream on Twitch also have YouTube channels on the side,
right?
Where they already they upload just the highlights of their particular games.
Right.
So it's like, if you're gonna do that, then why not just move over to this platform that has a bigger base than Twitch anyway?
Well, I think probably for a few different reasons too. I know that, and you know this too. When it comes to YouTube, dude, the demonetization that people face,
shit is ridiculous.
And
definitely.
You know, playing music, and there are so many things. Like I feel like a lot of people, even though there are so many true statements about YouTube being, you know, legitimate. Obviously, it has Google money behind it. It's the most viewed video website in the world. Billions of hours uploaded all the time.
Yeah.
It's that whenever those numbers, you kind of have to weigh against, well, man, how much is it going to hamper my content if
Right.
one, I'm getting demonetized all the time, two,
Yep.
even a little song might might hit me. I don't know. I know there are a few other big time gamers on YouTube. I know Courage, who is a part of that ninja crew, is
Right.
on YouTube. There's a few other people, but I mean, I'm not surprised if YouTube goes to someone like Ninja and
Right.
just offers him a ton of money and says, "Hey, man, we saw what you were able to do on YouTube and that crazy amount of." By the way, he has almost 24 million subscribers on YouTube anyway, so he has a built-in fan base of people that are gonna tune in just to see him. And there's a ton of kids on YouTube, and kids love Ninja and Fortnite. So
Right.
it kind of seems inevitable, in my opinion. I don't know why he hasn't made the deal to go back to YouTube yet, because it was just a test.
I think he just wants to remain a free agent, and I don't, at least for the time being. You know what? I don't blame him for it. If he can get any kind of revenue from any kind of thing, then power to him for anything that he gets. But I mean, it's like you said, I think it's a big commitment because there are terms and services with Twitch as well, like being over sexual and all this other stuff. But generally speaking, like you said, you have a lot more freedom over on Twitch than you do on YouTube. And essentially, what people don't really understand here, well, they do understand it, but I don't think they really take it into consideration, is it's Google versus Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Essentially what it is.
Heavyweight companies worth billions.
And Twitch with Amazon has just a lot more freedom, I would say. They're not as shall I say, they're not as strict on their policies.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you do use a song in a game or something and it is claimed, then that part of the video is just muted until that song is over. Whereas on YouTube, the whole damn thing is taken down.
Yeah.
One of our streams got taken down. The PS5 conference got taken down for a little while over a copyright claim of 15 seconds or some shit.
I can't recommend enough. There's a guy named GradeA on YouTube. He's fucking hilarious. He puts out great content, but he put out a video talking about how he's always getting demonetized, and it's only for a little clip of song that he plays at the end of his video, and it's essentially saying that all the work and time and effort that you've put into making your content is not as important as that little bit of song that is played. And people are stealing from music companies by just playing that song. Their content isn't more worth my hard-earned dollars. It's so stupid, and I don't know if YouTube will ever fix that. So no, I guess you are right, man. Maybe I don't blame Ninja and anyone from doing everything they can to stay away from YouTube.
Right. Well, a lot of people do both. I mean, I know some people who will they'll stream on Twitch 3 days out of the week, and then they'll have the YouTube premiere 2 days out of the week. They'll do both at the same time, which can be time consuming and a little bit splitting, sure, but it is possible. But for me, from looking at this from an outside perspective, with Ninja, I'm like, why not just milk both parties and get both, and not sign anything exclusive?
Yeah,
why not do that?
That's a good point. And in my mind, I think maybe it's because maybe you're just leaving so much money on the table. If you're going to stream at one of those platforms, be it Twitch or YouTube, is willing to come to him and sign him to an exclusive deal like he did with Mixer. And Mixer signed him. He got $30 million And he got all that $30 million from Mixer
Yep.
in one fell swoop. So
Right, because they went under.
yeah,
But,
he
I mean,
opted for the buyout. But I don't know. But apparently right now what you're talking about kind of is what he's doing. Because apparently he might still do another stream on Twitch and compare the two. I don't know. It's interesting. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because, as we move into these new times, like I'm interested in the streaming market and
Yeah, me
and how
too.
that works and the art of not the art but the act of people watching you play video games and that entire industry. Like how much power and
Right.
sway do you hold where you can go to a platform and say, hey, if you sign me to an exclusive deal, it's gonna be worth it because look how many people are gonna be watching, and coming to my stream. That's more people on your website.
Right.
Um,
Well, and it's also worth noting just how easy streaming is going to be next generation.
yeah,
I mean, it already kind of is with the PS4. You've got the share button and stuff, but this next coming generation, I mean, almost I would imagine everything, probably except Nintendo, is going to have a streaming button. So everybody's going to be able to do this shit. So it's like, you know, you need to. Well, I mean, if you're going to get into it serious, you need to know the market either way. But that's kind of the thing is they're gonna have a shit influx of new content creators, and I think I don't know. I think the market's going to be wide open. So it'll be interesting to see what YouTube and Twitch do in terms of their their differences. Because,
yeah,
man, I'm telling you, these numbers are going to skyrocket. So we'll see.
yeah. It's definitely interesting. It's something that I want to continue to keep a close eye on,
Mhm.
and update as time goes on. But Jeffrey, I think that does it once again for another episode of the Cripple Connection podcast. Why don't you tell any viewers that we might have where they can find you and talk to you online?
So you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at Jeffred. So Jeffrored.
And as always, my name is Cody Lashley. You can find me on Twitter at Cody Lack. Until next time,